Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've kind of been taught to think about exercise mostly in terms of output, right? You know, miles run, weight lifted, calories burned.
Yeah, the focus is almost always external: muscles, physique.
Exactly. But we're doing a deep dive today into some research that suggests maybe the most lasting effect of physical activity is actually happening way deeper.
Yeah.
Inside your skull.
It really flips the script, doesn't it? It forces you to think differently. We're not just talking about movement as like a chore you have to do for health.
Right.
We're talking about using movement as a real physical tool to, optimize and literally reshape the brain. If you're thinking about future-proofing your mind, you really need to look at how you move.
And that structural idea, that's the core of what we're getting into today. Our main source is Alexandra Kash's work, particularly from her book, Longevity Through Physical Activity, the 15-minute habit.
Mm-hmm.
And she frames physical activity not just as training, but as this deep, ongoing conversation between the body and the mind.
That's a great way to put it, a conversation.
Yeah, and it's that conversation, if it's rich enough, that helps sharpen memory, improve focus, and kind of keep us emotionally balanced as we get older. So our mission today is really exploring the science behind what she calls unpredictable play.
And the idea is, every time you move, you're sending signals upstairs to the brain. And those signals basically dictate the brain's architecture, how it's built.
So complex signals.
Complex signals mean the architecture adapts, it gets stronger, more intricate. But if the signals are just the same old thing, repetitive,
and the structure just stays the same, stagnates.
Pretty much. And this is where the biology gets really exciting because we're moving beyond just, feeling a bit better after a run, the endorphin thing.
We're talking actual physical growth, measurable changes inside the brain.
Correct. It's not just theory. You can see it on scans. MRI studies have shown that regular engaging physical activity actually increases the volume of gray matter.
Gray matter.
Yeah.
Okay, quick refresher for everyone. That's the dense stuff, right? The information processing tissue in the brain.
Exactly. That's the processing hardware. So we're not just talking about making existing circuits fire a bit faster. We're talking about building bigger, maybe better processing centers.
And where does this growth happen? Is it just everywhere?
No, and that's what's fascinating. The increases are quite targeted. They concentrate in brain areas we really rely on for, complex living. We see significant growth in the hippocampus.
Hippocampus, okay, memory center. Spatial navigation too, right?
That's the one. And crucially, also in the prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, basically.
Yeah.
That's handling decision-making, attention, planning, all that high-level executive function stuff.
Precisely. And these are the exact functions that, frankly, a lot of people worry about losing as they age.
So if we can actually physically improve the size and density of the brain's CEO and its memory hub just by moving differently, that's huge.
It's a potentially radical intervention. So the obvious next question is how? What's the mechanism? How does moving your body translate into physical brain growth?
We hear about the feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin. They definitely get released, improve mood. But what's the research say is the real driver for the structural change, the growth factor?
Yeah, that distinction matters. For the physical growth, the star player seems to be BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF, okay.
So this really powerful protein. When you move, especially when you challenge yourself physically, your brain gets this flood of BDNF and other growth factors.
So it's like this neurochemical cascade kicks off, and BDNF is acting like brain fertilizer. Is that a fair analogy?
It's a great analogy, actually. Brain fertilizer. And what does that fertilizer do down at the cellular level? Two main things.
Okay.
First, it stimulates neurogenesis. That's the literal birth of brand new neurons, mostly in the hippocampus.
Wow, new brain cells.
And second, it strengthens the synaptic connections, the links between all the existing neurons. So you're getting new cells and making the communication between all the cells more efficient.
So the whole network gets stronger.
Exactly. The result is a brain that's structurally stronger, more adaptable, more resilient.
That sounds incredible. Like way beyond doing a crossword puzzle or using a brain training app, right?
Yeah.
You're forcing the actual hardware to upgrade itself.
You are, but, and this is the really critical catch that Alexandra Kash hammers home, not all movement triggers this amazing response equally.
Okay.
If the goal is specifically a sharp, adaptive mind, we really need to look critically at how most people are actually exercising.
This is where the typical gym routine might fall short then. If the mechanism's all about adaptation, why wouldn't, say, a hard, predictable run on a treadmill be enough? You're definitely working hard, sweating.
And that run is fantastic for your heart, your lungs, your muscles, no question.
Mhm.
But if your brain knows exactly what's coming next minute after minute,
Like the treadmill belt is always the same speed, the path is always flat.
right, or lifting weights in that same predictable arc. If the environment is static, the brain just doesn't need much cognitive horsepower to execute the movement.
So the body's working hard, but the brain is kind of coasting on autopilot.
Precisely. Kash and other experts draw this really important line between closed skills and open skills.
Closed versus open, okay.
Most routine gym workouts, they're closed skills. They're performed in a stable, predictable environment. The movements are controlled, repetitive. Your goal is consistency.
Like lifting weights, using an elliptical, swimming laps in a pool.
Exactly. Those are great for building muscle, building endurance, but they don't really challenge the brain's adaptive machinery, particularly that prefrontal cortex we talked about.
Because the brain isn't being forced to constantly assess, predict, react, maybe inhibit a wrong move.
Exactly. The BDNF might be circulating, but the demand for new connections related to complex thinking or reacting just isn't really there.
Okay, so to really get the brain to adapt, to maximize that BDNF fertilizer effect, the movement has to surprise you.
Yes. That leads us straight to the idea of open skills. Open skills are the opposite. They're movements performed in a dynamic, unpredictable setting. You constantly have to adjust your response based on what's happening around you.
Can you give some clear examples, like closed versus open?
Sure. So, closed skills. Running on a track, barbell lifts, a set martial arts form, swimming laps. Predictable.
Got it.
Open skills. Think team sports like basketball, soccer, pickleball. You never know where the ball or your opponent is going next.
Right. Total unpredictability.
Or things like dancing, especially improvisational dance, or even something like complex trail running where every step requires a tiny, novel adjustment for roots and rocks. That's much more open than running on a flat road.
The instant you add unpredictability, the brain has to switch from just running a preset program to active, real-time problem solving.
Absolutely. Open skills demand that constant cycle. Assess the situation, anticipate what might happen, make a split-second decision, execute the move, maybe inhibit doing something else. It forces the brain to fire on all cylinders.
Which sounds a lot like this concept of dual task training we hear about in neuroscience.
It's directly related. You're asking the brain to manage the physical movement and manage an ongoing cognitive challenge simultaneously. Let's look at the evidence for that combo.
Yeah, let's dig into that.
Okay, this is where folks like neuroscience expert Ryan Glatt come in. His work, summarized in things like boosting brain training, really clarifies this. He talks about cognitively engaging physical activity.
Which is basically
Any movement that makes the brain make decisions, anticipate changes, switch attention quickly, react in real time. It's essentially the clinical idea behind dual task training.
So we're not just moving, we're deliberately kind of confusing the brain, but in a good way.
In a very productive way. Glatt reviewed, I think it was over 20 randomized controlled trials, specifically looking at older adults. They compared standard predictable exercise with this dual task training.
And the results?
Pretty dramatic, actually. The dual task training groups showed greater improvements in cognitive function compared to the groups doing traditional closed skill exercise.
More improvement. Okay, that's significant.
But here's the kicker, especially for longevity planning. The cognitive benefits gained from the dual task training, they lasted significantly longer than the benefits from the traditional exercise.
Wow, longer lasting effects. That's huge.
That lasting impact is really the key insight, I think. It suggests that when you push the brain to handle complex, even conflicting inputs like, say, balancing physically while also solving a mental puzzle, you're forging deeper, more robust neural pathways.
You're not just getting that temporary BDNF boost.
Right. You're actually sort of reorganizing the brain's functional setup to better handle complexity and novelty down the road. That's what builds long-term resilience.
This really poses a powerful question for you, the listener, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're putting time into exercise to stay mentally sharp as you age, why settle for a routine that only works your muscles and leaves that crucial prefrontal cortex, well, unchallenged?
Yeah, the optimal strategy seems to demand both physical effort and cognitive challenge. Make your workout count twice, basically.
And the great news is you don't need to, join a fancy sports league or sign up for some complex dance class to get started with this.
No, not at all. The barrier to entry for this kind of cognitive fitness is surprisingly low.
Alexandra Kash gives this fantastic, slightly silly-sounding example of dual-task training anyone can try. Needs a partner, a little space. It's called the balloon drill.
Ah, yes, the balloon drill. Sounds simple, but it hits exactly those cognitive skills we've been talking about.
Okay, here's how it works. You stand facing your partner. Key rule, keep both hands behind your back to start.
Okay, hands are behind back. Got it.
Your partner then tosses a slow-moving object towards you. Kash suggests starting really easy, like with an actual balloon or maybe a light scarf, something that hangs in the air.
Slows the action right down. Makes sense.
Now, here's the cognitive twist. While that object is floating towards you,
The partner adds a command.
exactly, the partner yells out either right or left. And the rule is simple but tricky. You can only use the hand they called out to catch the object.
Ah, so the other hand has to stay put behind your back. Inhibited.
Yes. Think about the rapid-fire processing needed there. You're tracking the object visually, its path, its speed. You're processing the sound, the command. And crucially, your executive function has to kick in to stop you from using your dominant or maybe closer hand.
While activating the correct hand, the one they called, all in maybe a second? Less?
It's pure cognitive conflict, the exact kind of beneficial stress the prefrontal cortex thrives on. You're training divided attention reaction time and that crucial inhibition response, things that often get slower with age or under pressure.
You're hitting multiple targets at once.
And Kash maps out how to make it harder once you get the hang of the balloon. Pretty straightforward progression.
Right. You can use a heavier or faster object, like a softball.
Increase the speed of the toss, make it less predictable.
And probably the most effective step up, add rhythmic movement.
Yeah, like marching in place or even a light jog on the spot while you're doing the catch and call drill.
Yeah.
Now you've layered on maintaining rhythm and motor coordination while managing the visual tracking, the auditory command, and the hand inhibition.
That's really stacking the cognitive load. It increases the divided attention challenge massively.
You're deliberately making demands on the very systems most likely to decline over time. You'll probably look clumsy doing it. You'll miss the ball.
But that's the point. That moment of awkwardness, that struggle where your brain is scrambling to coordinate everything, that's the BDNF fertilizer going into overdrive, forging those new connections. The struggle is the workout, cognitively speaking.
So when we pull it all together, this deep dive really shows us that the body and mind aren't these separate things working in parallel.
No, they were never meant to be isolated.
Movement, especially movement that forces us to adapt and make decisions, it's like the fundamental language the brain uses to learn, to change, to stay. Well, alive and vibrant.
And when we just stick to the predictable stuff, the closed skills, we're missing out on maybe the single most powerful tool we have for cognitive enhancement.
It's not necessarily about working out harder, but working out smarter, moving with intention, thinking through the motion. I love that quote from Alexandra Kash. Every step you take is a message to your brain. I'm still growing.
Such a powerful reframe. Still growing.
So longevity, viewed through this lens, isn't just about racking up years. Kash suggests it's measured by how deeply we stay connected to our body, our mind, and the rhythm between them.
The connection and the complexity of that connection, that's the real measure of vitality, isn't it?
Absolutely. So the final thought we want to leave you with this week is this. What one open skill activity could you weave into your routine, even just for 15 minutes?
Could you swap out one predictable workout session for something that forces your brain to react and adapt?
A little unpredictable play. Your brain will definitely notice the novelty, and you'll be building genuine, lasting mental resilience.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.